Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're a recent graduate right now, or maybe you're just on the hunt for a new role, you know exactly how demoralizing the job search feels. It can absolutely feel like an endless uphill battle. Growing up, a lot of us were told to just pick a career we love and we'd never work a day in our lives, right? But standing on the outside looking in, it might actually feel like it's going to be a really, really long time before you get that first job, or secure your next step up the ladder, or finally get those student loan balances down to zero. And honestly, most of the advice out there just makes it seem way harder than it needs to be. So today, we're going to break through all that noise.
First things first, we have to ask the core question that's literally on everyone's mind. Is the job market really as cooked as everyone says it is? I completely validate your frustration here. It's incredibly annoying to constantly come across these so-called entry-level jobs that inexplicably demand a decade of experience. Or, minimum wage roles that somehow require a 4-year college degree, which, ironically, you need a job to pay for in the first place. When you're caught in that loop, it really does feel like the whole system is completely broken and totally stacked against you.
But I actually want to jolt you out of that doom-scrolling narrative for a second, because the reality is much, much different than the internet makes it seem. 4.2%. That is the actual U.S. unemployment rate right now. So what does that actually mean for you? Well, it means that out of every 100 people who are available to work, only about 4 are not working. That leaves 96 people who are employed. The vast majority of the workforce is out there doing their jobs. We are nowhere close to being completely doomed, and there are for sure still plenty of high-paying jobs out there waiting for you.
So here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. We're going to cover the job market myth, the mindset shift, upskill and network, smart applications, and perfecting your resume.
Let's start with part 1, the job market myth. We need to explore exactly why the internet makes the job market look so completely impossible to navigate, and why what you're seeing on your phone is definitely not an accurate reflection of reality. You've probably heard of the dead internet theory, but what we're actually dealing with here is what we can call the unemployed internet theory. It's this perception that absolutely nobody can find a job. But think about it. Who is actually creating the content you're consuming during the workday? It's predominantly teenagers, bots, students, influencers, and unemployed individuals. The people who actually have jobs are far too busy working to post on social media. They're just doing their jobs and consuming whatever content the jobless people created during the day. This heavily skews your social media feed in the wrong direction. Believing everyone is unemployed just because of your feed, it's literally like flying to New Zealand, looking around, and assuming the entire global population is from New Zealand. That brings us to step 1, the mindset shift. This is the first, and honestly, absolutely the most crucial step. Before you tweak a resume or send a single email, you have to replace your limiting beliefs with a very simple assumption. As long as you try, you will eventually win. Your own belief about what's possible directly dictates your effort and your ultimate success. It's a classic self-fulfilling prophecy. If you assume you're never going to win, well, you think there's no point in even trying. You convince yourself the market is ruined, the competition is just too high, or you weren't smart enough to get hired. You make a negative prediction, and through your resulting inaction, you actually make it come true. It really all comes down to 2 contrasting mindsets. In a downward spiral, you complain about the market. You assume rejection is inevitable, and so you just stop applying or put in a really half-hearted effort. Naturally, you don't get hired, which only proves your initial negative thought. But in a positive cycle, if you tell yourself the market is fine and that you can get the job if you just try, you apply with confidence, you put in maximum effort, and you significantly increase your chances of getting hired. Once you know how to read and type, your own belief in what is possible is the main deciding factor in the trajectory of your career. So these concepts build our 3-step action plan: mindset, upskill, and apply. We've established the mindset foundation, so let's dive into the tactical execution of upskilling. Moving on to step 2, upskill and network. This right here is the work phase of the Explainer. Increasing your skill set is the actual bridge that takes you from just settling for any random job to genuinely landing a high-paying dream job. Now, I know it's tempting to skip this because it takes actual effort, but the barrier to entry is lower than it has ever been. You can utilize free YouTube courses, grab library books, do virtual internships, or build your own personal portfolio projects to show off what you've learned. There are also fully online bootcamps that let you take courses and complete projects on a super flexible schedule, allowing you to upskill even if you're currently working a full-time job that you absolutely dislike. The resources are everywhere.
Now, a quick warning here. Please don't be fooled by social media myths looking for a shortcut. You might see a viral post claiming you can easily make $250K a year right out of the gate as a welder, just by going to a cheap trade school. In reality, getting into the trades takes years of hard work as an apprentice, and realistically, salaries for those roles often cap out around 80K unless you start your own highly successful company, which comes with its own massive risks and exhausting 10-hour workdays on your feet. There are no magical one-month paths to a massive salary. It takes genuine skill building. And while you're building those skills, you also need to build your network. If you don't know how to learn a specific, complex skill, find someone who has your dream job on LinkedIn and ask them for a Zoom coffee chat. But remember this is not the time to ask for a referral. It's the time to learn. The true purpose of these chats is to build a genuine connection. Ask them what worked, what didn't, and just get to know each other. That way, a year from now, when a position opens up, you aren't just some random stranger. You're a trusted connection they actually want to refer.
Okay, let's look at step 3, smart applications. Applying to jobs is honestly the easiest part of the process, but it is undeniably the most tedious. To get the absolute best results for the lowest amount of effort, we need to treat this as a game of speed and efficiency. 24 hours, that is your magic window. When you're searching job boards like Indeed or LinkedIn, you must filter for postings from the last 24 hours. Why? Because companies are fundamentally lazy. Often, they'll simply interview the very first batch of applicants who look decent. If you're applying a month after a position opens, they're probably already in final rounds with other people. You need to apply quickly, as soon as possible after that job gets posted. There's a fantastic rule of thumb for this. Be the first applicant for 10 different jobs, rather than the 1,000th applicant for 50 jobs. Applying quickly and consistently every single day completely beats promising yourself you'll do a massive 50 application binge on a random Saturday. Daily, targeted, early applications are exactly what will get your foot in the door. Let's run through some rapid-fire application hacks. First, never postpone applying because you think you need months to prepare for interviews. Constant applying actually motivates you to stay sharp. Second, track everything in a simple spreadsheet. Third, like we talked about, ask that network you've been building for referrals. It increases your chances exponentially. Finally, use basic browser extensions that autofill your standard information. But a really quick warning. Avoid those overly complicated AI networking and blockchain application tools. They usually sound incredibly fancy, but end up being totally useless and just overcomplicate your process. Just keep it simple. And finally, section 5, perfecting your resume.
The biggest mistake people make here is trying to design an absolute masterpiece. Don't do it. Use the boring one-page template that everyone else is using. You want the content of your resume to stand out, not the flashy format. Plus, beautifully designed resumes with crazy columns and graphics often get auto-rejected by company screening bots simply because the computer literally can't read the formatting. A boring, single-page document is exactly what you need. There's a massive difference between a bad, generic responsibility list and a great, numbers-driven accomplishment format. A bad bullet point just says, managed social media accounts. A great bullet point follows a very specific formula: what you did, how you did it, and how the company benefited as a result. For example, grew social media engagement by 45% over 6 months by implementing a new video content strategy, resulting in a $10,000 increase in monthly sales. You absolutely must put numbers, percentages, and dollar signs in there to make your achievements tangible and undeniable.
And that brings us to our final thought today. Applying for jobs is, in a lot of ways, just like asking someone out. You are going to face rejection. It is a mathematical certainty. But if you fix your mindset, continually upskill, apply efficiently, and just keep moving past those rejections, someone will want you eventually. The statistics are on your side, the jobs are out there, and as long as you refuse to quit, you must win eventually. So what limiting belief are you going to leave behind today to finally launch your career?